and an author, and I'm so excited to have her because my dear friend Chris Strub introduced us, almost a year ago?
Yeah,
Like
it
that.
was about a year
It's been
ago.
a while,
Uh-huh.
y'all. We've been trying to nail this down. But anyway, I'm so happy to have Bella here. She brings such a vast amount of wisdom when it comes to business and entrepreneurship. And all you folks out there that are thinking about starting a business, or maybe you have a business, she has some rich information for us today. Hi, Bella.
Hi, Michelle. Thanks for having me on here.
Absolutely. How about we have a culture soup moment? Are you ready?
Let's do this, girl.
Awesome. Okay, so I was looking at all the different platforms, and I talked to people about my social strategy and how I use them to funnel my content. And, I have a specific way that I do it. Some people know that I bailed on Facebook like 2 years ago. I had a personal page there, and it wasn't about privacy so much. I didn't even put my daughter's picture up. It really was about the foolery. I was really tired of it. And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
backed off. I just got off and took all of my data and left. Boom, gone, right? And then I went to Instagram, which I felt was a little bit safer. I could guard my
Yeah.
access. I have a lot of friends that are in the media too that sometimes, especially when I was working for the big company, would slide into my DMs just because I was on Facebook and ask me questions that I'm like, I can't answer that. You know who to call to do that, right? So anyway, Instagram seemed a little safer, but I got to tell you, 2 years later, now that I have moved out and, I'm doing my coaching business and I have my podcast, it's full blast, and gee, I'm speaking, I'm all over the place. It's like, I got to do Facebook. Plus, IG requires you to have a Facebook profile to do ads. So
hmm
you've been doing some work on Facebook, and you actually believe that there's a real business case for Facebook. You want to talk about that?
Without a doubt, girl. It's so I have this analogy because I'm all like the Facebook groups girl. Like I was doing Facebook groups before it was cool. I actually started my own Facebook groups, namely because I was sick and tired of the drama-filled groups that were in the pet industry. And so I decided I'd make my own sandbox. So I did. And I started a general group, and I own a pet sitting company with staff. So I was niching it down. And then I also did like a larger one just called Jumpstart Your Pet Business to kind of create a wider casted net. And I started organically using Facebook groups as a funnel system. So it was like a catch-all, and then it got a little bit more nichier.
Yeah.
And then I had all of these people that were captivated. That sounds funny, but like I had their captive attention.
Yeah.
And so I could launch my products in there, and we all knew each other. It was a safe, nice place. And so those groups proved to really help me through the most difficult part of my life when
Yeah.
I gave birth to the world's smallest female baby on the
Yeah.
planet. Not the smallest, but one of the 50 smallest surviving female
Sure.
babies. She was only 12
Oh,
ounces
bless her
and
heart.
10 inches, which is an inch shorter than a Barbie doll. And everybody said she would not make it. So while I was going back and forth to NICU for 8 to 10 hours a day, not being able to be on my phone or like, talking to people and coaching, those Facebook groups helped me keep alive. And I really believe that the Facebook group is like the backyard party. That's where you get invited. That's where you come, and people don't sit down and just listen to only what you say.
Right.
You want people to start talking to each other, and you're there to serve food and make sure the music's going and that there's cornhole in the corner, and we've got the pool going, as opposed to the front yard, Michelle, where when you're in the front yard, you would never put an in-ground pool in the front yard
Right.
and go lay out in all your glory while people are driving by, right?
Right.
It's weird. Like you want that privacy in your backyard. So yeah, my culture suit moment is that the Facebook group is just like your backyard party where, and I think if more people started to understand that, they could engage their group better and
Yeah.
have a better experience on
Well, let's
Facebook.
back up a second because everybody that's listening probably isn't as deep into marketing as you and I. So you use the term funnel. I talked
Yeah.
to some coaches about building their funnels when I came from the coaching institute, the CAP Institute recently. And they're like, what are you talking about? So will you take a moment to talk about what a funnel is and how you can build one with a Facebook group?
Yeah, so I wish I could rip this poster off my wall because I have all these sticky notes on it and I could just hold it up and show you. But basically, what I've done in my business is I've segmented my people into starter, builder, and scaler. And so depending on what part of that journey of business that you're on, I have freebies for you. I have products for you. I have groups or services for you. And so it's kind of like if you picture it like a long train and you get on at a certain stop. And so that funnel just kind of keeps the train going.
Right.
Go from like one adventure or experience with me to the next. And like I said, it kind of gets nichier and nichier and nichier, you know, where the biggest one being anybody and their mother who thinks they want to start a business, to I have a business with staff. And so, you know, there's a lot of talk, and I'm sure you've heard about it, that like funnels are dead, marketing's dead, all this stuff. And I actually agree with that to a point, because I think that just funnels by themselves, without that human interaction, without that personalized like we all know when we get emails that we're being sold to, right? But there's a difference when an email comes through and it's like, hey, I got this 30-second video for you. And it's like just those 10 words. That's it. And it's like, ooh, what's that video? You know, it's different. So funnels come in a lot of different ways. That's kind of how mine work. And then with Facebook, I've been able to make them really work and do pop-up groups and make like, you know, $10,000 in a couple weeks, because it's pay to be in the group for a short amount of time and then you're out. So it's fun.
So how do you attract people into your Facebook group?
Many different ways. So the first one is, I always encourage people that if you're really keen on building your Facebook group, you should kind of think about all those places where you have that Facebook icon. You do not need that Facebook icon to tell people to go to your page. You can invite them to your group. You can also invite people to your group from the front page of your website in your email signature. You can invite them from your page into your group. You can send out a mass email to get people into your group. You can do what our boy Chris Strubb does, which I love. He talks about things on his Instagram story.
He's so good.
And then he's so good. And then he stops it. And like right when you're like, and then I said this, and then he like blacks it all out. And he's like, you got to join my group to know the rest of it. And what he did was socialwithstrubb.com. I think that's his URL. Shout out to Chris Strubb. And what he did is he got a URL and had it redirect to the group, which is genius, because if you don't do that, then you're trying to get someone to go try to search for your group. And we all know that every single click or thinking that someone has to do, the less you're going to get that chance of that sale or that connection, right?
Right.
So
it's a really great idea.
Yeah, it is. It is. We got tons of different ways. Offering it as just a freebie to any of your products or services. If you're a speaker, asking people from the stage, obviously mentioning it in your podcast, basically any place that you would ever put your website, you want to put your group too, because that's a fighting chance for you as an entrepreneur to be able to communicate with your constituents or your people.
So Bella, you know, I mentioned that we met virtually. We haven't met in real life yet. We met virtually about a year ago, thanks to our friend Chris Strubb. You probably heard that name a lot already, folks. But Bella and I have been wanting to get together. I want folks to know a little bit more about you. So how did you even get into business coaching and consulting?
Yeah, so in 2002, I was in college going to ASU. I got a human communication degree to satisfy my parents, let's be real. And then when I was in college, I wanted to go out karaokeing and out with my boyfriend and all this stuff. And I had a curfew and that wasn't cool. So when I found out that I could sleep over someone's house and get paid for it to watch their dogs, I was ready to to pay them, right? So fast forward only 5 years from that, in 2007, I got nationally and locally awarded for my business. And so a lot of people started coming to me saying, Bella, how can I do what you do? Like, how do you do this? What are you doing? So I used to sit on the phone, Michelle, and talk to them. And it was like a high for me. It was so exciting, but it was also very draining because I would give everything that I have to give. And everybody always kind of thinks that I'm like, and the minute the light goes off, I'm like, ugh. Because it takes a lot of energy.
Here and explain this. This means you're an extrovert with introverted tendencies. And that means that you 100%, need to go recharge your batteries. this. You're just like me.
Yeah.
People don't understand
Yeah,
that I
yeah,
am
for
a
sure.
very high I. And they're like, what?
Yeah.
No, you're extroverted. Okay, extroverted doesn't necessarily mean outgoing. It's where you charge
Yeah.
your batteries, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
for
I
sure.
can relate to that.
For sure, for sure. So I started coaching and I realized like that gig was so much more fulfilling to me, to my soul, than what I was doing. But I was on a path to find Mr. Right, and I was dating everybody on Match.com at that point. And so I got married in my early 30s, and I always had this dream that when I became a wife and a mom that I would sell that company, but I wasn't realizing that this coaching was so exciting for me. So when I did sell the pet sitting company, I went full blast with really creating an empire. I mean, I'm going to just toot my own horn there because I'm very proud of it.
Y'all. It's
And
awesome.
and it's so fulfilling. And I know that you have these experiences as well. It's so fulfilling to know that you make a positive impact on people and companies and how it multiplies. Like you might help one business owner, but that business now is so fruitful that they're able to hire more and more people, which might be doing incredible amounts of blessings in their workers' lives. And just like, it's exciting
I call it
to
ministry.
have the ability to have a ripple effect.
Yeah, it blesses me too. Totally to
Yeah.
be able to help people. So then
Yeah.
you started your full scale coaching and consulting business. And what are you doing now?
Yeah. So, well, I fell on my face a couple times.
Of course.
I think we all
That's
do that, right?
entrepreneurs do.
I was peddling monthly courses, realizing that kind of plan wasn't gonna work,
Yeah.
and that, or rather, it would work too much. It would be too much work, and so I moved into more of an agency and a mastermind. But now, what I get to do is I get to help educate and inspire people on Facebook groups right now, and on leadership over their own life, their interpersonal relationships, and their like community.
Yeah.
And I just feel like the world needs more people to tell them that they can do it, or just to do those two letters, do it, and be ready to fail, because you'll fail more times than you do it. But
when you fail, you learn, right?
God, your ability, when I tell you no, the way that you react, I know if we're going to be a good working relationship or not. Because the people that just get knocked down by the no and then stay down are not the ones that are going to persevere and keep pushing through,
Right.
And it's okay.
Right.
But it's like, if you're saying you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be a business owner, you better become BFFs with no.
Yes.
Because it's the only way you're going to survive.
Yeah, that's that fixed mindset that you want to get out of, right? And what you've described is a growth mindset. No should fuel you.
100%. Yeah. You want to know something funny? So my podcast is called Bella in Your Business.
Yes.
And when I was younger, my parents used to tell me all the time, Danielle, MYOB. They wouldn't even say the whole thing because they said it so many times. It stood for mind your own business.
Yes. That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, Bella's in your business now, folks. Now, you know that there's also power in video. And you're using a lot of video on Facebook as well. How is that fueling business, and how are you telling your business clients to use it?
Yeah, so it all kind of started back in NICU. I mean, NICU was the worst thing I ever went through, but it was the most amount of I realized how little I could do and how big of an impact I could have. So I actually used to do this thing called stoplight confessional. And there was this really long stoplight that I had every day going to NICU. And I swear it was more to pump my own self up, but I would get out my phone and I would do a 1 or 2, depending on how long the stoplight was, video. And I'd say, hey guys, today's a cloudy day, which is weird in Arizona. We never have clouds, but I want you to remember the sun is always behind the clouds, no matter how much it's raining, no matter and I would just think and percolate as I was getting ready for the day. What kind of message could I put out there that honestly I needed to hear?
Yes.
And it became this whole series. So it started back then. And now I love Instagram stories. I know that's how you and I know a lot about each other.
Yes.
That's why we haven't even physically met or hugged yet, but we feel like we know each other.
Right.
And I think it really is a window into people's world, and it can be used so many different ways. Produced, unproduced, on the fly. We're a voyeuristic society,
Right.
and people love to see things behind the scenes. They're
Mm-hmm.
curious. Like we just aimlessly scroll and flip if you're not aware of it.
Right.
Um, so I think video is so ridiculously important, and especially for someone like me who
Mm-hmm.
is very expressive.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys are listening to this podcast right now, Michelle and I are also recording it on video,
Yes.
and my hands are going everywhere, and
And
I'm
you will
like
see it
bouncing
on
around.
YouTube, believe me. Because I
Exactly,
mean,
yeah.
that's when
You
it
can
really
jump
comes
over
to
to
life.
YouTube and see it.
Right. That's when it really comes to
But
life. I have
yeah,
folks
yeah, for
over
sure.
in London that listen over in the UK, and they wait until the video comes out, and that's when I start to see it shared on Twitter, and they're like, "Oh my
Mhm.
gosh! If you listen to it, it's one thing. If you see it, it's
Yeah.
like you're right there."
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And because, we're talking about things that we're passionate about, and that passion just oozes out and you can hear it. But then when you can see it and you can see our eyes light up or our
Right.
hands go everywhere or us
Right.
like dancing around, like
Right.
it's it's exciting, there's an energy that gets exuded and that gets
Absolutely.
received.
So, what other hacks, like low hanging fruit, are you sharing with your clients these days?
That's a really good question. So I think they're a hack. I
Mm-hmm.
think the biggest thing, so when it comes to technology, is that people are like, what do I post? I want to know what I ate for breakfast this morning, or, I'm in the office by myself all day. I don't know what to do. And I think that just really thinking ahead of time about maybe like 3 to 5, I call them buckets.
Mm-hmm.
And like, avenues that you can kind of like mentally prepare yourself for. So when you are working out in the morning, go ahead and snap that
Right.
picture or
Mm-hmm.
take that video or whatever it might be. Or maybe one of your buckets is kids because you really help a lot of like mompreneurs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe another one is the fact that you really love shoes or outfits or purses and the purse of the day or outfit of the day. And then you sprinkle in a little bit of the business in there. So I think that like if you can figure out like what is your brand theme,
Right.
I don't know if I'm going to totally go off the rails, but I have a really good um story. It
Go for
happened
it.
the other
Go for
day.
it.
Okay. So my dad's over for dinner. God bless him. He made us, me and my mom, some Mother's Day dinner. And my dad's just starting into the real estate world. And he is a boomer. He's like 64 or so,
Sure.
right? And my dad is not outgoing like I am.
Mm-hmm.
Like he does not like big crowds. He's more of like a small crowd kind of guy. And he's doing this real estate thing. And he's like, but I don't know what to put on Facebook because I haven't sold thousands of houses. And I'm like, Dad, it's totally fine. And I look at him and I
Yeah.
go, you have a granddaughter that was in NICU. You've bought a house at every stage of your life, from the fixer upper with like burn marks
There
in
you
the
go.
plaster, and ripped off the roof and redid it. You know what it's like to raise kids and put them in college. You know what it's like to move cross country. I'm like, and you're from the East Coast and you're Italian.
Yes.
I was like, look right there. You know who you are. He looked at me like, what? And my mom's like, you should have recorded her. I'm like, Dad, we'll do your whole brand guide. But I think sometimes as entrepreneurs, my point, Michelle, is that we're so close to it that we don't actually, it's hard. It's even hard for me to step out and actually see ourselves from the outside in,
Right.
because we're so close to it.
Well, and
So I think that,
I was going to say that you hit on something that is a recurring theme in a lot of my speaking and a lot of my
yeah,
writing. When you know your story, you
yeah,
actually know your uniqueness. And when you know your
yeah,
uniqueness, you have the ability to be authentic. And when you share your story, people can relate to you. And that's exactly what you just shared with
100%.
your dad. And it was like an aha
Yeah.
moment for him.
Yeah, I love that you said all that. It's
Mm-hmm.
so true. I couldn't agree with you more. Every single one of us has a story, but I also think the word story has been so overused, and people are like, well, what story do you want to know? And it's like, no, 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 no. Like, if you had to narrow it down for a couple of things that would describe who you are,
Yes.
what is that?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes you unique. And I would even argue that it makes you unique that you can actually tell that story,
Totally.
right? Because a lot of people can't even talk about it or tell it.
Yeah, and once you know it and you can tell it, you're unlocking so many possibilities even in your future, like I am on this path right now because of a list that I made coming out of college. And I have
Wow. Tell me
two
more about
things.
that.
Oh, yeah. So coming out of college, I knew that I was a writer. I knew I was a
Uh-huh.
writer. So the question was, how do I make money at it? While I wanted to write books, I knew that at age 20, nobody wanted to hear from me. I had no credentials, I had no experience, all of that good stuff. But I also knew, uh-oh, I lost you. Oh, boy. I'm going to have to call you back. The Culture Soup Podcast is a production of No Silos Communication.